pushy, lazy, bossy, inconsiderate, nosy, good for nothing, busybody. Why can't you listen to me?
Hello everyone, welcome to a Stargate theory video. There's not a lot of theories to make on Stargate, given A, it's been in kind of a coma for the last decade or so, and B, most topics have been covered before. But this is one I came up with while doing research for a video that will come out at a later date, and I'm a little proud of it. The theory is, as the title spoils, do the Nox and Asgard hate each other? For those of you who don't know much about these two groups or need a quick refresher, long ago there was an alliance of four great races: the Nox, Asgard, Furlings, and the Ancients, the last being the builders of the Stargates. Fast forward to the start of SG-1 in 1997, and the alliance has been over for a very long time. We don't know when or why the alliance ended. There are some different versions in the lore, but we can most likely say it ended around the time the Ancients left the Milky Way galaxy for the Pegasus galaxy, which happened several million years ago due to the Ancient Plague, which nearly wiped out all life in the Milky Way galaxy. Also, put a pin in the Ancients leaving, it's gonna become important later. Like I said, the alliance was over by the start of the show, with only two members still around: the Nox and Asgard. The Ancients, like I said, left for Pegasus and later ascended to a higher plane, so they are technically still around, but they have a strict no interference policy in the lower planes. And the Furlings are just... okay, no one knows anything about them, including what they look like, so let's just assume they are no longer a player on the board. It's just the Nox and Asgard that SG-1 and Earth interact with in the lower plane. But what's weird is, despite being former allies, the two never seem to interact. Which is really strange, since the Asgard were going through three major problems the Nox could have helped solved. First, they were dying. Long ago, the Asgard achieved immortality via cloning. Whenever an Asgard dies, their mind is downloaded into a clone body. However, over time, this has damaged the Asgard's genome, and if they don't fix it, they will die out. In fact, they did die out. By the end of SG-1, the Asgard chose to end their life subscriptions en masse, though Atlantis would later reveal a population of Asgard did survive in Pegasus. Their next problem is their war with the Replicators in their home galaxy that they were losing badly. If their cloning didn't kill them, the Replicators would. The final problem being the Goa'uld. Despite the previous two problems, they still maintain a presence in the Milky Way to try and keep the Goa'uld Empire in check. The Nox could have helped with all of these problems. They have great medical technology and could have helped with the cloning issue. While they were pacifists and probably didn't have much or any kind of military, their cloaking tech could have helped in the war with the Replicators and offer another power to check and contain the Goa'uld. In the original treaty between the Asgard and the Goa'uld prior to Earth joining, there were only 26 planets that were officially recognized as protected from the Empire. That is a really small number when you consider there could be millions, if not billions, of possible human worlds under Goa'uld control, or could fall under their control. And imagine how much larger a number that could have been if there was another major power standing against the Goa'uld. But again, no. The two seemingly did not interact with each other at all in the modern day. There is only one episode that may indicate the two could have been in contact. The 8th episode of Season 3 of SG-1, Shades of Grey. During the episode, Jack steals a piece of Tolan technology and later resigns from his post. He's approached by the NID to steal more alien technology to help defend the Earth, since at this time Earth's allies were unwilling to hand over any tech. However, it turns out it was all a ruse in order to capture the rogue NID agents. The Asgard and Tolan had approached the SGC separately with evidence they were stealing from them, and in response, the Asgard, Tolan, and Nox threatened to sever ties with Earth. And that's it. That's the only time I could find in all three of the shows that the Nox and Asgard interacted after the alliance ended. And even then, they didn't really interact. It said the rogue NID agents stole from the Asgard and Tolan, but not the Nox. The Nox most likely only threatened to sever ties because they had good relations with the Tolan. Actually, Prior to this point, I didn't think the Nox had any relations with Earth since they kicked them off their homeworld in their first episode. Beyond that point, there's no indication that the Nox and Asgard ever met or talked during the events of this episode. If I had to take a guess, and keep in mind this is only a guess, the Nox were probably the intermediary between the two. Like two divorced parents who don't like each other, so when they need to interact, they use their kids. So given how the two seem to not talk with each other, I have to ask, do the two hate each other? Well, I don't know if hate is the right word, but I think there was some disagreement. And to show this, let's look at how both groups dealt with the Goa'uld. As I said, the Asgard attempted to keep the Goa'uld in check, going to war with them and later creating a treaty to keep some human worlds free. I said the Nox didn't do this, so what did they do about the Goa'uld?
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
The thing about the Nox is that they are uber pacifists. They refuse to take any action that may result in the harm or death of another, even if that other person is trying to kill them, and I don't think the Nox will compromise on this. At least most don't. As Laya was willing to Hayato an ion can for SG-1 to use against the Goa'uld, but then you have Antaeus, who saved Apophis' life when Apophis killed his son a few minutes ago. Whenever the Goa'uld would come to the Nox's homeworld to hunt a creature, they would just use their technology to hide themselves and wait for the Goa'uld to leave. These are very different approaches to the Goa'uld problem, and it makes me wonder if the reason the two never interacted with each other is because they don't agree with each other on most issues. Now you might say, wait, weren't they in the Ancient Alliance together? Why did they work together then and not now? My answer, the Ancients. Daniel described the Alliance as a United Nations of the Stars. And if you know anything about the real-world United Nations, you know it barely functions half the time since the permanent members of the Security Council and most members of the General Assembly can't agree on anything. Or at the very least they fall into these blocks, but that's getting into politics and I'm not brave enough for that discussion. Regardless, I think the Four Great Race Alliance may have had a similar issue since they did need to create a universal language for as clear communication as possible. I think while all members of the Alliance were peaceful, they existed on some kind of spectrum, with the Nox believing in peace through pacifism on one end, and the Asgard who are, well, I don't want to say militaristic because I feel like that's incorrect, so let's say they believe in peace through strength. And in the middle were the Ancients and probably the Furlings, who were able to come together and go to their respective extremes to help create compromises that all could live with. Now, I will grant I have no evidence this is how the Alliance worked, but I think it makes sense given what I've laid out, and there are some examples of the two races clashing in the lore after and during the Alliance. Well, I say all that with a really big asterisk at the end. These examples come from the Stargate SG-1 Fantastic Frontier Stargate Season 1 RPG book and Stargate Worlds. Now, the canonicity of the RPG books has been something questioned by fans in the past, since most of the writers of Stargate had little input. I've found some pretty clear examples of them being wrong, though this is only because most of these RPG books were created early on in Stargate's life, and later lore was added that there was no way they could have known about. So I'd say it's not that they're wrong, but more out of date. When the Goa'uld first rose to power, Ra had claimed the Heliopolis, the meeting place where the members of the Alliance met that we saw in the Torment of Tantalus. By this point, the Alliance was not active and the Ancients were no longer around. The Goa'uld Empire was expanding out and made contact with the Asgard. The Asgard saw the Goa'uld for what they were and entered into a centuries-long war with them. Despite the Asgard having the technological upper hand, the Goa'uld proved to be a wily and tenuous foe. The Asgard sent out representatives to their former allies to renew the alliance, but for the purpose of opposing the Goa'uld. And the Nox said no, as their pacifism would not let them harm anyone, and they wanted nothing to do with this new alliance. Keep this in mind for later. The Furlings did agree to join, but under one condition. A single, decisive strike had to be made against the Goa'uld, since they could not survive in a long, protracted war of attrition. which is interesting in of itself, but I'll cover that sometime in a later video. The Asgard agreed, and so the two started making plans. They created several criteria a planet must meet before they would strike. Things like their attack could not result in the extinction of any race, couldn't have a resource the Goa'uld would be tempted to return to later and use, and the attack of said planet must show the strength of this alliance. Interestingly, there's a note about how Earth was not even considered for two reasons. First, its destruction would not be a significant enough setback for the Goa'uld and their ability to wage war. And second is that the Ancients forbade all members of the Alliance from destroying the planet. While the Asgard and Furlings debated about which planet to attack, the Goa'uld kept expanding, which eventually had them wipe out all sentient life in several systems that were on the edge of Nox territory. Concerned that their beliefs had put them into a corner, the Nox decided to join the new alliance. However, they came with their own condition. The planet they attack must not be completely destroyed. It must be able to continue on after the attack. Now some of you might ask, wait, didn't the Goa'uld not know about the Nox and SG-1? Which, don't worry, for you see why the Nox joined the alliance. They refused to actually take part in any direct fighting. Instead, they passed on material, technology, and moral support. The three races decided to attack the Heliopolis since the Goa'uld had turned it into a production world. Losing it would hurt their wartime production, as well as weaken Ra so much that the other system lords might turn on him, as well as being a symbol since it was the meeting place of the old alliance. The attack was nothing short of a massive victory for the new alliance, as they wiped out all life and structures on the planet save one, their original meeting place. There is a slight lore contradiction here, as it said Ra fled for his life only to discover Earth, but it said that by this point Jaffa were being trained on the planet, but Jaffa are genetically altered humans. So how are they training Jaffa if they had no humans? I guess you could say the Unas, but it said the reason they didn't target the Goa'uld homeworld was because it was the only planet with an Unas population, which is not true. And wait, if Ra hadn't discovered Earth yet, then why was it even brought up at all as a possible target? I'm getting a headache just thinking about this timeline, so let's just move on. Unfortunately, the victory was short-lived, as the Nox discovered their attack had altered the orbit of the planet in a way that meant life could no longer prosper in any great abundance. And now the members of this alliance had the technology to fix this. The only ones who they knew did have the tech to this was the Ancients, who were long gone. And so the planet was left abandoned. And it's not said, but I assume since the remaining system lords sued for peace after this event, the new alliance ended. After all, there was no need for it now, and despite their success, it didn't really end the way they wanted it to. Now, like I said, this story comes from an older piece of lore, so while it doesn't line up entirely with our current understanding of the timeline, I think it helps shows some of the differences between the Nox and Asgard that I will cover later. The next lore point comes from the unfinished video game Stargate Worlds. Now, while this game was never finished, it was supposed to be made and was going to be canon. Why it wasn't made, I covered a bit in my video on Stargate Resistance, which you can check out here. Now, I've talked about this idea before, but Worlds was going to introduce the concept of the Caretaker races. The idea was that each member of the Four Great Race Alliance was going to create a potential Caretaker race that would carry on existence in the Milky Way when they were gone. The Ancients created humanity, the Furlings the Goa'uld. Yeah, that's a whole thing we can unpack at a later date. For this video, what's interesting is what the Nox and Asgard did. The Nox insisted that no Caretaker race was needed and didn't make one. And the Asgard created a technological solution called the Solacris. What that means, I have no idea. But whatever they did backfired spectacularly, as it resulted in the crippling of their race, as well as the creation of a plague that nearly wiped out the Ancients. Now in SG-1, it was theorized by Daniel that it was the Ori who made the Ancient Plague, and I think one of the books later confirmed this, though many consider the books to be part of their own universe separate from the main canon. But again, I want to stress that this game was supposed to be canon, So maybe if it was made, it could have been canon, and it was the Asgard who accidentally created the ancient plague. And I don't know about you, but if one of my allies had accidentally created a plague that nearly killed off one of our allies and killed off most life in the Milky Way galaxy, I would just be a little peeved at them, just a little bit. And I would imagine maybe so would the Nox. Though given the game was unfinished, I doubt this was the reason the two aren't on speaking terms. Now, if you take these two pieces of lore and you look at them side by side, there are some interesting things that pop up. In both examples, the Nox are kind of set apart from the others. Their pacifism and general beliefs prevent them from taking part in what the rest of the group thought was right. Which isn't a bad thing, sometimes a group can be wrong, but let me ask this. If you were in Asgard and your former ally refused to join in a military alliance against a dangerous foe, only later to do so with new restrictions on the war and not even send military help, wouldn't that annoy you? On the flip side, in both examples, the Asgard are either the primary movers or going along with what the group is doing. And if you were a Nox, wouldn't it annoy you if you had an ally that was asking you to fight in a wars or influence younger races? Keep in mind, for the Nox, no violence is ever okay. So it doesn't matter if it's against the Goa'uld, the mere act of doing it is bad. And they view primitive races as young children, who while they may teach, they probably believe should best be left alone. Just one final thing I want to look at is the Asgard clone thing. Now, there's no lore indication what I'm about to say is true, but something I started to ponder when I said the Nox could have helped in this regard. I wonder if the reason the Asgard didn't go to the Nox for help with the clone issue was not because the Nox could not help them, but more, they wouldn't help them. See, the Nox are all about not disturbing nature. It's why they built floating cities above their planet. But what the Asgard did was not natural. In fact, it goes against nature. People are born, they live, have kids, get old, die, and their kids do the same, and so on and so forth. Older generations are succeeded by newer ones, that's just life. And while we might be able to understand the desire to live longer, the Nox might not be as willing given how rigid they are in their beliefs. It's possible they looked at this lifestyle, God, that's a loaded phrase, but I'm keeping it, disapproved of it, and as such chose not to help them. Now, some might point out the Nox can revive the dead, which is true, but it has to be the recently deceased. It's not like they're playing necromancy. Think of it like this, there's a big difference between using a defibrillator on someone who suffered a heart attack and digging up Abraham Lincoln's body to create a clone of him. So to kind of re-summarize my points, because I know it was a bit all over the place in this video, do the Asgard and Nox hate each other? I don't think hate is the right word, but I think there was some disagreement. I think there was something, whether it be general attitudes of both these races or a specific event, that made them not really want to interact. I think at their core there was some respect given that they were allies once, but it was more of a unspoken at a distance kind of thing. Heck, just to be fair to people who might have some counterpoints, maybe there was no disagreement. Maybe the Nox decided they didn't want to interact with the wider galaxy, and the Asgard respected that decision enough not to bother them. A similar thing was said in the RPG book about why the three races chose not to attack Earth. Heck, on that note, I found this line in the RPG book saying that despite the fragmentation of the Alliance and no longer actively working together, they did maintain friendly relations. What do you think? Do you think the Asgard Nox dislike each other? And if so, why? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, leave a like and subscribe, follow me on my social medias, and remember,
If you hadn't kicked my cash register, I wouldn't have thrown you a rocket.
Oh yeah? Well, if you hadn't made me play that dumb game, I wouldn't have had...
Nabbit, will you two cut it out?